What's going on, guys? We're back in the garage, and this time we're replacing the tires on the KTM. So I'm going to walk you through the process of replacing the tires on the KTM. The first thing I want to talk about, though, is the KTM is sitting right behind the camera right now, up on stands, on lifts. So I'll show you that. And then we're going to talk about removing the tires. We're going to probably start with the rear and then move on to the front afterward. Let's go over here and take off the rear wheel. I'm actually going to try the KTM tool for the rear wheel. I put this in my toolkit, and I don't even know if these things work or if they're whatever. So first thing I'm going to do is try this thing. It's kind of short, so I don't think I'm going to be able to loosen it with just my hands, but I'm gonna try it. So that's not gonna loosen. Okay. All right. Well, it would work, but I'm pretty sure this will be easier with a 32mm socket.
And an air gun.
Which I have, and an air gun, but I don't have that. Okay, the next step is actually to grab the rear brake caliper and actually push it towards the brake disc. Push the caliper towards the disc by hand to compress the piston on this side. There we go. In order to get it to stay open, you don't want the pads to collapse once you take the rear wheel out. And then we're gonna remove the speed sensor here. Comes out, the speed sensor comes out, and I'm just going to tuck it back here behind its own cord in between the caliper and the caliper mounting bracket. All the way out. Then we're going to remove the chain tensioner block, push it over about an inch, and then we're going to switch sides here, and I'm going to show you what's going on the other side. So we push the axle this way a little bit, and that brought the chain tensioner block out far enough to clear past the tensioner bolts. And now we're going to press the wheel forward as far as it'll go. Okay, so now that this is as far forward as it will go, we can take the chain off of the sprocket, because we've got enough slack in the chain now to remove the chain from the sprocket. Take that and put it aside. Now the wheel should just come up. And we drop the right spacer. We can get the wheel out. Finagle it. Tight squeeze. And there we go. This son of a bitch. I'm gonna take out this spacer and put it aside. And we're gonna let the air out of the tire. I'm actually gonna remove the valve stem now, the core now. And I'm gonna set that aside along with the cap. And I'm gonna reach underneath the tire. The valve stem is right here. I'm gonna reach underneath the tire here, a little bit of that, and pull it up over the top of the rim. Now while holding that, side, this is the chain side. We're rotating this direction. An arrow, it wants to rotate this direction. This tire goes on this way. I'm gonna try to shove it on, at least this one side. There we go. There's the other side. All right. $42.2. There we go. All right, so before we balance this thing, I want to get the spokes tightened up. The service manual, KTM manual, says to just tap them with a wrench, and if any of them sound different, tighten them. Or it actually says to tap with a screwdriver. Got the lightest spot right here on the T, and this bike doesn't have a good flat spot here in the very center because the spokes are in the middle, so the weights go on the outer edge of the rim, which means you have to split the weights evenly between the left and the right side so that you don't have an off-balance wheel. To experiment with the amount of weight we need is take a piece of masking tape, and I'm going to double it over on itself and stick it right here at the 12 o'clock position. And then I'm gonna add a couple of weights. I've got 3 weights on there. I'm gonna turn this 90 degrees and I'm gonna let it go. And I'm gonna see if the weights go up or they go down. If they fall, I've got too much weight. If they rise, I've got too little weight. So you can see there's a pretty decisive rise. So now what I'm gonna do, another loop of tape, and I'm actually gonna do it on the other side of the wheel. And the same thing, I'm gonna stick a few more weights. Again, put it at 90 degrees, let it go. So it's not moving now. We've got it to where it's 90 degrees. The heaviest spot's over here. The lightest spots was over here, but now it's not actually moving. So we've got it balanced. I'm gonna take this masking tape off. I'm gonna prep the surface with some alcohol, and I'm gonna put this weight on some adhesive material that'll keep these weights on here. I greased the spacer on the disc side, as the instructions say. I'm gonna kind of sneak it back in here by rolling it slowly. Okay. Now before you take the caliper off, you want to twist it, tilt it against the disc to try and spread apart the pads. Twist it both directions, and then you can drop the caliper back. Same thing on this side. Up quite a bit, but before you remove it, you want to tap on it to push it through the spindle or the axle through the other side. That way you have something to grab on the other side. It's a flush mount on the other side, so if you don't do this, you don't have anything to grab onto. not going up or down. We're balanced. Okay, time to put this wheel back in. We've lightly greased the spacers on both sides. We've also greased up the axle, the spindle, and the bolt, which are going to be coming on. So I'm going to move this into place. Remember, you don't have to line it up with the calipers because the calipers are hanging. So it's important to remember not to tighten these down yet. See, it's still just a little bit wiggly. So the instructions here say operate the front brake while the calipers are still loose to get everything straightened out and lined up. So it's basically pump the front brake until you get to the point where you have pressure. You just spin the wheel. And then once you've got it to where it's braking, it says to activate the front brake and hold it. So I've just got a zip tie here. So I zip tied the front brake lever, and now I'm going to go around tightening all the calipers, bolts. Don't be fooled, we're not done yet. Okay, now there's still pinch bolts underneath we gotta deal with. Okay, now we have to take it off the stands before we can tighten the pinch bolts. The reason for that is you want to straighten the front fork tubes and the mounting for the front fork tubes. You don't want any torque or torsion. So when we're going to take it off the stand, we're going to compress the front shock a few times, and it's going to straighten out the bottom of the front forks. The front fork tube mount bolts onto the axle. I'd have seen the little trick there to turn the wheel before you take the rear stand off, and then it'll naturally want to fall onto that side with the side stand that's down. So the next thing I'm going to do is just compress the front shocks using the front brake a few times. Now we're going to tighten the pinch bolts. It's a really light torque spec. It's like 11 newton meters, or no, 11 foot-pounds, 15 newton meters. That's what it is. Yeah, so it's a really light torque spec, 15 newton meters. It's about 11 foot-pounds. So we're going to get up under there and tighten those pinch bolts. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed watching that video. That's the wrap up of that. I hope it gives you a better idea of what it really takes to mount and balance tires and wheels on your motorcycle. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. What's the smartest way to do this here? The caliper interacting. the way it is. Try standing up here. I need a second set of hands. Man, that's a bitch. Oh boy.
1 hour later.
What I'm really trying to do here is compress the rubber of the rubber seal that the spacer is on top of.
You got it.
Yeah, but now I need it to go forward. Is it gonna come out yet or what? Wow. That is such a pain in the ass to try and pull on. There we go. It's literally just a smooth rod. There's nothing to grab onto, not even a lip. Is that gonna stay? Whoa. You are way up there.